Okay, round two. Looks like Beth is sharing her screen. Oh, Beth, you're muted. I don't hear you. I can try to unmute you.
Okay, I'm unmuted now.
You're good. Yeah.
Yeah, so when files get sent like this, there's a, I don't know what weblog means, but they come in really small like that. And we were able to look at these last week large, but I think we're going to be, and these are the thumbnails that Nico did, beautiful thumbnails. I especially like the kind of cinematic shadow of the phone here on over the image. It looks like something, a frame from a movie or something like that. So I'm going to go now and look at this one, which has two InDesign. I don't know why they come in like that, but anyway. So yours is saved in a newer version of InDesign. Again, everyone, the versions of InDesign that you got from Adobe from the school are newer than the ones that are on the CPC computers, but I like the one I have here from the lab. And I can't open them unless you package them. You have to package them so that I can open up the IDML. Otherwise, we can't see it. So I sent this out to several people, and I've made little diagrams and taken screenshots of where you package and compress files. So once you package it, it makes a folder. Then the folder should be compressed by pressing on it and going to the choice to compress it. Then it travels through the email and whatever ways you're going to attach it better. So I can see those things when you send them properly. Again, when you go to, I don't know if how many of you are looking at the screen right now? Is everyone looking at the screen right now?
Yep.
Okay. So when I go up to here to File in InDesign, and I look down the list and I see package, you go down here and there it is, package, right? And that's how you package a file. Okay, so if I were going to package this one, I would then click on yes, package. And then when you get that file onto the desktop, then I'm going to go ahead and save. And then I get to the desktop and I'm going to save it to the desktop. Then I've got it on the desktop and where is it? Right now, this, I'll just pretend that this is it. So then I go to, now that will work. So, well, I'll do it with another one, but I do have pictures that I've taken of the menus that you use and send it to several people. I guess I need to post it in announcements, maybe would be a good spot. Okay, so the other thing that I noticed that I have here, oh shoot, thought I did, was Oh, there they are. Okay, so the we're looking at now the after you get your home page done, after you decide on your home page, then and you get your links into your interactive InDesign page, which I don't we can't do to anyone else's work except Gary's, so that we may be able to see my instructions work and do that to Gary's. But this is where you want to be. This is actually where we should be this week, but it's going to be somehow between this week and next week for some of you, is having your final homepage created in a PDF, and then it's going to be, this is interactive now, so it's an interactive PDF, but you can't do that until you decide on what you're going to have, until you set up. Then when I go up to characters here, when I move the arrow over to characters and I touch characters, it turns into a finger, which indicates that it's a button. And it takes me to the first page, and then we need to create a home button. And I talked about this last week when I showed these, that the home button should probably not be loud up near the top of where your headings are, where your art is. The home button should probably be a really light color and down in the either the lower right or lower left. So where should the home button be? And let me know what you think where the home button should be. Anyone?
Lower right, lower left.
Yeah. Okay. I hope you're all thinking that. I don't mind if you say things all at once. It's sort of like an energy that is reassuring. But
In the dog's mouth?
so, so yes, this is the big feature of the page, and this and some of this. So this is out overriding it, and it's just a button. It's just like an on-off button. So you don't look like put a huge, gigantic on-off button on your what you're turning on and off. So so I'm going to click home, and that takes me home. And so this is what you're going to have by in 2 weeks or sooner. Being able to go to these pages. Again, I have to say that if I click on a page and you've posted the page that had tons of corrections on it and you didn't correct them, that's not going to make an impression. So you want to make if you've received corrections from a professional about changing something and you're not a professional and you don't change it, and then you go take your portfolio to some place where you're going to try to work with professionals, that's not going to work out so well. So I would really get in and make, if you've gotten instructions for making your page better, now is the time to do it. So if, for instance, if your typeface character, this is called character, but if this page had corrections on it or there were suggestions in class, I would apply those to that page. Okay, that said. So this one turned out really nicely. So this one was all about alignment and careful attention to correct wording in the captions. So this one's all correct. I think this one was correct in the first place, but anyone who had things that were misaligned or incorrect went back and corrected these. in this file and then made a PDF out of it for the portfolio. So again, you want to be showing your best, not your, well, not exactly your worst, but not your best. When you have a chance to show your best because you've gotten corrections all over the page or something like that, saying what you should do. So, and this one had to do with alignment and showing that you knew the difference between left alignment and left justified. And I think this one probably is fully justified because the bottom line seems to have also gone to the edge. So it's just left justified. And you can see what happens if you fully justify it. See all these holes in here that are happening? And that's an undesirable thing. So I also have other students who type two spaces, kind of, they just type two spaces, just their fingers do it or something like that. And you would know then that if you had a tendency to do that, you select everything and you find all instances of two spaces, space, and change it to one space. And then you apply that to edit your page and it pulls out all of the wrong two spaces. If you have a habit of doing that and someone in the know tells you about it, then that's how you would fix that until you started to stop making two spaces. Usually it's just after the periods that people make two spaces because they were taught by somebody on a computer who was taught on a typewriter who never learned typography and didn't. An office typographer, typewriter person does not usually know that in all publications, professional publications, there's only one space between sentences. That's the way it is. But you can change that by just going in and changing all instances of two spaces with one. So this reminded me of that because while we did talk about making this justified so that the name would align down here, and I think it's aligning left justified would be what you'd be after here so that you don't have this kind of thing happening. So having the pages look their best is important. And this one, I've suggested that people use the one without the crop mark, the trim mark. And for this one, we didn't talk about it, but there's a way of making actually we did talk about it in this class. We even showed it, how to widen the space around the image so you don't have a big space at the bottom, and you can even it out by using the direct selection arrow and hovering over the right side of the image until you see the arrow with a little line next to it, and then you can pull out the wrap around so you get more space on the side. But this is the way to turn this one in. Also, for this one, there was an opportunity to put your name wherever you wanted to, and I would probably do something like put it maybe down here or someplace more unusual. But this is fine too, even though it doesn't align, because I said you could put it in place. So, and so this is just a frame from the animation. When we look through these, you'll see that other people have done more with this page, and then you go home. So that one, and I like looking at, Nico does really wonderful thumbnails. They look like they all could be really good finals. So let's see, let's go to very symmetrical look to it and kind of an atmospheric with the gradients. Again, the DM1 dead center, not such a good idea. Something in maybe pale in a shade that's almost the same shade as this down at the bottom. But everything's so centered, it might go in the middle here too. But I said that what, 2 or 3 times now. So that is not a feature of your work here. So visually, you want to subdue it like a copyright or a trademark or something like that. And this is better for the home down here because it's not up here being big and red next to the action. So these are the stars of the show. The home button is not the star. The home button is somebody who's, you know, working behind the scenes, and you can just barely see them. So, and this is cool, this contrast here. And that home button could be even more subtle. But you notice the home button is over here, and these are over here. And so in order to get from the home button after you get back, you have to go over here. So in terms of usability, since the industry is looking for designers who are savvy about usability, usability is what people tend to do, and foreseeing that and then putting controls in the right place, it's especially important in something like airplanes, but making sure the controls are all set up so that you can get at them right where you need them. And people have paid attention to that a lot, but now we're all navigating through these virtual spaces. And so the designer who has a really good sense of usability and sort of a physical logic about how stuff works is going to be noticed. So that's one of the things. So I left here and I had to come over here to get that. And this student has some really nice tendencies type-wise. Almost never is there a first indent on a first line, unless it's for some sort of design element that repeats. So if you're, this almost never happens. So I would encourage you to look in books and publications and online and see how that works. Online things are changing a little bit because of the devices that we use to read. But you'll see both center alignment and left alignment. As soon as somebody wants you to read seriously, it goes left aligned on a phone. So it may have an introductory passage that's center aligned, where it's kind of a cloud of type like this. And then all of a sudden it lines up and so that you can read it more easily and quickly. So again, and where were we? And this one was deliberately aligned, left justified, in order for your name to be justified. And so this student got the instruction in the critique that this was not done properly and it wasn't aligned, but put the work in the final anyway wrong. So if you have gotten the message that you left justify this deliberately in order for your name to be aligned then you'll probably get a point off for that because I'm letting you know about it. I don't want to see the same mistake you made come back in the page. I want to see that you learned from what we did, and this is working pretty well. Except that these are out of order in terms of the assignment. So that would be something that would be okay in a portfolio. But the poor typographic alignment, you'd want to be sure and listen to your teacher and make that change. And if you forgot how to do it, ask. Okay. So that was, and this one I think would look better when it's maybe put in. You might even want to put a line around the edge, like a pale gray line, but just having it be, so for our class, use the one that doesn't have the crop marks. So for our class, use the one that doesn't have the crop marks. So for our class, what?
You want to have crop marks and everything. No, use the ones
Yeah,
without crop marks. Period. Period.
Use the one that doesn't have the crop marks.
Good, yay, everybody.
Also, I have a question.
Yes.
Shouldn't we design the links to be like the same style as the home page? Like, I mean, I'm just looking at this one. It seems like that the links that they lead to are very different from the home page. And I mean, consistency, I think, is pretty important in these things.
Well, I think the home page should just be a subtle word, so not red with serifs. And I think, you know, just the most subtle type. But when we click back, these right here can be, once that the first you get that they're buttons, then you know that these are buttons.
Yeah, but
that is the point. I don't think typographically or color-wise they need to look the same, but I think that they actually font-wise, I think it would work a lot better. So what you were backing up to what you were saying, I think if the home was in all small caps in this typeface right here, that it would be better. And if it was gray or something that's maybe picking up one of the pale pink shade or something in here, so that it's not bright red and with serifs looking very different. So yes, you're right.
And another thing, I think what I'd want to do for mine is sort of not have the link go directly to the file, but have it go to like a window with like that red background and the file in it or something like that. And then have the home page on like the bottom.
Right, hold those thoughts. You're thinking along the right lines. And another thing that we need to do is what else, as you're looking at this page, what do you need to do with your typography? Typography.
Oh yeah, you have to check for grammar.
You have to check for what?
Grammar.
Typography. How's that spelled?
It's spelled pretty awesome.
It's an amazing spelling. I'd wear a typography T-shirt, but I wouldn't put it on a pahaji.
It'd be a great tattoo.
A great regrettable tattoo, since it would be spelled wrong.
Well,
Exactly.
I think that the tattoo artists have made some of those errors. Sometimes they.
Oh, there's websites dedicated to it. They're hysterical.
Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
you use ink box and not actual tattoos before you get an actual tattoo.
So what is that word that they're trying to spell there?
Typography.
Yeah. It's just one little A can make a huge difference. So I think, what was the animation? Oh, they mixed up the animation and so that's another problem. So you want to make sure your buttons go to the page that, so this is typography goes to animation and animation goes to typography. So double check that part. Let's see. So Joel got a little bit more subtle here, but the buttons are shouting, so that you really want this part to be more prominent. But there's a battle going on between the main heading thing and these buttons. They're sort of duking it out for your attention. And resolution is when something is right out there. So resolution is something that you want to avoid. So typography and solution system something says with stuff.
I think it would be fun to find all of the best typos
think
of these words and make a homepage.
I know we could do a misspelled word rap.
I just
I grew up with dyslexia too, so I find it particularly entertaining.
That's dyslexia.
Just-
Dyslexia.
wait.
Did you hear about the the agnostic dyslexic insomniac? You didn't
Let's
hear
hear
about
it.
the agnostic dyslexic insomniac who stayed
Let's
up
hear
all
it.
night? He stayed up all night wondering if there really was a dog.
That is excellent. That is
And on that
excellent.
note,
Oh, Jesus.
so we're a little bit out of order here. But, I mean, these are going all in a different order. Perhaps it's because of again the home is really interrupting all of this. But then so not going in and doing serif type that this was set in, and then not aligning the name and so forth. Just again,
And again, if you were doing a professional website, you'd want to keep things consistent. You wouldn't want the link going directly to the file. You'd want to sort of have the same design, maybe add a few things in like the background and like
well,
that.
also the links here, you don't want to have a full on, 6 skateboards, big ones on the home page for that. So should be subtle, and this part should be like showing off. And this ribbon is definitely, I mean, there are few little things here, but that's quite an amazing piece of work. So I would work on that. Again, the serif typeface was specified for this, and this has got 2 different deep first line indents, a little one and a bigger one. And then this alignment could be where the name is. So if you have things like that that are glaringly misaligned that you now know because you've been stewing in the pot of typography and formatting for weeks, you want to be showing that in your work. So it's not going to be that much work to make the corrections in here that and when we look at them next week, that would be something that you might want to think about how those look. All right. She went off again. And this is quite wonderful. And in this case, I probably would leave the crop marks off and let this kind of soar. But you can see how much more wonderful this would be if this wasn't here. I hope. And this is all looking like super pro, but not any mold. No, over here you got that it's not happening. So the buttons on the page, oh, that's right. These are all in a different order. So you start to get the idea now that you've been, let's see. I didn't get this one out of the background. So this has a continuity to it that puts the buttons in a sort of a arc with the snoozing caterpillar, and that sort of circles around like this. The DM1 up here is out of the way, but it looks like it could be another button because of the way it's styled. So, and I don't think she wanted it down here. So this is a hard decision. She wanted it to look a little more special, but I think just a DM1, hard to say where you put that. But, and in this case, the home, I think should be over down here consistently. It might be over. The left side is also one of the blind sides, like in newspapers. I seem to recall I mentioned that last week, but that used to be the place where they charge less for ads down there, charge more for ads over here, because this is like the blind spot when you're reading a paper or something like that. Anyway. But I'm not sure whether it would be exactly where it would be, but this is the interaction design that the companies are wanting the students or the designers to be in charge of, because they assume that designers have a knack for feeling out interaction with the public, with the customers. And so I know that there's some of that going on in the coding part, but the blend of being, having some coding and being able to work with a team and help with the interaction on a website. So this interaction here leaves me with my cursor over here, and then I have to travel up here. Might be easy to drop down here. So those are things, again, that you want to think about as you're working on this. And so Bridget is now in our portfolio class, and so that's two semesters or a year and a half or so later, and she's doing really wonderful things. You can see that she has a great knack for design, and that these lines align across columns, and that there's some interesting things going on playing with her logo here. So we're at a point now where we're looking at how do you get ready for going to work in an industry that does, they say they want designers, and so we're trying to give them designers who will make their stuff look better. So this is designers and coders need to be working together to make things happen. So, so this is 2 years ago, and now we're looking at the kinds of things she's doing in the portfolio class, which are matured because she's gone into take DM5 and she's taken other classes. John, did Bridget take your 60 class?
No. What's Bridget's last name?
Bridget Bailey.
No, I don't think so.
She's in our DM8. So for your animation, you could have 2 or 3 frames, or just one frame, one stunning frame, and that would be 20. And see, where is size PDF? So this page is out doing design work, and she's taken the classes that I think she took DM6 last semester, and has been working consistently throughout. So it shows on her page here. Trying to not see that next one down. Let's just try it like that. So this is, again, I would have gone in back in and changed the type to, if the type is specified to be a sans or serif typeface in the project, I would actually do that. But and so this one had again, this would speak to this alignment right here. The nearest closest visible alignment is right here, but it isn't there. Gary.
Yeah, I just had a
Gary?
question. For animation, you don't want us to export the, okay?
The animation?
Yeah,
The animation can just be an image or two from your animation,
very good.
the star of it. So it would be a PDF.
I know Animate will let you export like all 30 frames on a sheet, like a thumbnail sheet, but you're not looking for that.
No, just a couple of frames or one. So
Sweet.
the star of the show, that's going to be an open kind of choice, and you can send ideas that you want us to weigh in on, this or this type of thing.
Right.
But it's just showing a character or move, or I have one in here that's looks really wonderful. It's from early on when we started doing the animation. It's 3 frames that really look fun.
Nice.
Together.
Yeah, I got a cool idea for it.
Just kind of showing it off as much as you can using stills. But this is a knockout typeface, one of the candidates for the t-shirt squad. And these came out well too. And so she paid attention to what was said. The sans serif headings, serif left justified, so with the sans serif attribution at the bottom. And then the saturation was set up so that you saw the white background. So that was another thing. So this was all done to the specifications of the project. And this is that one, grid systems, except that it doesn't have the small caps in here. Small caps are really hard for everybody to get the reason for and the look of and um, what they do and so forth. So that's something to be aware of, small caps. So this part right here was small caps. And in this class, we were using the identity part of the project, the part of the course, instead of animation. Or maybe she substituted this for animation. The identity one is the one that we skipped. We went from color to the color harmony to the final project, because part of what we're doing in the final project is identity. So this had to do with identity for herself. We were actually doing, in the identity project, we were doing identity for somebody else in the class. And that was where that came in. But now this semester we're doing identity for ourselves. Okay, there was something else I was thinking of. I wonder if no. So this one, something happened here on this one that looks like the buttons didn't get made. This was an interesting one. So Ethan didn't know how he was going to he wanted to do this thing, which is the turning things, images, doing images with, there's a name for this, John, that I'm forgetting. Taught all class.
Yeah, I feel that way sometimes. But
And
yeah, I don't
called,
remember the name for it.
There's a word for this art form where you everything is made up of triangles. And to a greater or lesser degree, the smaller, the tinier the triangles, the more similarity you get, and the larger the triangles, the more.
Like a mosaic?
Yeah, so it's called low poly drawing. So if you look up, I'll just do that for a moment.
Yeah, it reminds me of a fractal, sort of. It's crazy looking.
It's related a little bit to fractals.
It's awesome.
But it's so oops. Not real. So low poly art images. So this has become pretty popular, but low poly art is reducing using shaded triangles to create forms, 3D looking forms. And so you've got, your Jack Nicholson here and your low poly parrot, the theme low poly, low poly pachyderm, really low poly portrait here. So the tinier the triangles, the more detail that you can get in. But when you have somebody like let's see, so Can't remember his first name. I don't think it's Chow. Stan Chow. So this is the low poly artist who's not using all triangles, but is using all flat shapes to make the images. So that's a low poly one. I don't think he did that. So these are all just flat shapes, not gradients or anything. So that his whole whole style has to do with just shapes, and he gets an amazing similarity, personality into just a few shapes. So Stan Chow, UK, Manchester, I think, artist who really does, there's a kind of a weird photo of him. So he does portraits for New Yorker of all of the writers. So every writer in New Yorker magazine has a portrait of done by Stan. So we'll see if that works. So these are like all writers for New Yorker that he's caricatured, and the caricatures to me always look really kind of scary. These look really stunning to me. They look like it got spot on. They're not like made into clowns or to look goofy or distorted or anything. They're just their essence is kind of is uh, created with just simple shapes and shades of color. So it's my duty to let you know about these folks. And if you're interested in illustration and doing certain things like this, then he's somebody to study. Going back to our, so this guy, he looks kind of like a tough guy. I think he kind of put on that persona, so he wanted something that was a little bit.
Pretty sure that's the guy who the quote is from.
Yeah. Yeah, so the Forrest Gump quote is kind of eccentric these days. But he did this, so this is not fighting with the image. It can be even more subtle without a line around it, without a frame around it. So without serifs on it. So something that is low key but present, but not pushy. So the home button, and he's got his links over here, and the home button is here. So it's not the links all up here, and somebody has to go home links like that. So again, that's about usability. And this was one of the very interesting letter characters, just super simple. And then that had pretty much all the stuff on there. They're all touching, which is a little bit close, except for this one, which used to, again, if you're going to have it touching, the caption touching, they should all be touching in the same way. not just a little bit touching, so that consistency of alignment for captions and things like that is expected in the industry. You're working for a publication, Scientific American, National Geographic, you know, whatever. It's you're expected to know that this is far different from this. So this is, I can't zoom in here. How do you zoom in? Plus, no, okay. So is that, and this worked too. So the position of the home button on this one is exemplary. The quality of it, the look of it. So this is another way to do the animation, so you can make a whole picture of it. I don't know if this is a frame or not, but it might be. But that's selections from your work would be what you'd be thinking about in terms of. We did that. Then I made this thing that was just for practice, which is, let me just see if I can. We're getting towards our. So this was one that I made just to figure out what was going on with this. So if I want to go to gold, made that button, and there I got my gold. So I didn't put home up here or up here, but I put, or in the right color, I put it down here so that you can kind of see it's consistently white. So that's one that I kind of trained myself, but I forget how I do it now. It's essentially following the pattern that we're doing, so that the home page and the, but I think I put this in our folders someplace. No, not folders, but modules. I'm still in the physical world of folders. We still have folders. They're called folders, but they're different. Okay, so indigo. Maybe it's time to indigo for a little breakio.
Yeah, it looks like it's 12 after, so this is a perfect time. Should we take 10, folks?
I think we should take 10 and come back with questions and ideas
Okie dokie.
based on what people are looking to do.
All right, I'm gonna set my alarm and